Hello Penguinauts, I'm the Beardy Penguin and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program Endurance. Last episode we launched a very shoddy probe, Progress 1, to our moon of Nemesis, which did used to be Ike, saving the space program, and now we have funding and reputation and science and all that good stuff to actually play with. However, if we head over to the administration building, we have a strategy, Nemesis probes, which gives us 400% funds to milestone gains for Nemesis, whereas minus 80% funds to gains from any other bodies. So we're going to Nemesis, we're going to do all the Nemesis stuff before we go anywhere else. Our objective is to land probes in 3 different biomes on Nemesis, and we get penalties if we cancel it, but we won't be cancelling it, of course. This has been given to us by Werner von Kerman. If you're wondering why he's still alive, it's actually because he cryonically froze himself back on Kerbin with the cryptic words, "Wake me when you need me." Unfortunately, his cryopod was mistaken for an ice lolly machine, and as such he was just thrown into deep storage and remained that way until one of our interns got a bit hungry, stumbled across the machine and thought he'd make himself an ice lolly. And the rather bewildered Werner von Kerman stumbled out instead. But we're certainly glad to have him on board. Anyway, if we head over to Mission Control, we've got a few field research contracts and an exploration contract to, well, explore Nemesis. The CEO and chief bottle washer at Kerbin, world's first record-keeping society, that should really be Solitude, but it's fine, has stumbled onto a problem. We're not sure if there really is such a thing as too many struts. We'd like to find out. Believe you're in a much better position to deal with this than us. I'm not sure what that has to do with exploring Nemesis. That's just kind of an unrelated briefing. Thank you, Gene Jr. Right, okay, sure. So, we need to return to Solitude from a flyby of Nemesis. That's a... is that unmanned or manned? I guess it could be. Thing is, we're planning to send probes to it before we do any kind of manned flyby. So we're not going to do that first, actually. We're not going to grab that. However, mystery gear observation experiments on Nemesis, we certainly can do that. Nemesis is steep slopes. Mystery gear observation low in space and situation high in space. We can certainly do that. And there we go. Help a scientist. Nope, not sending a scientist there. That's actually the only contract we have, besides this one. So perhaps we could strap a smaller probe onto our main probe that heads back to Solitude. Let's grab the contract anyway, because we'll certainly be doing it at some point. And let's build ourselves a lander. So here it is, Progress 2. Not much more advanced than Progress 1, although it has actually got SAS this time, which means we're not wobbling all over the place, struggling to keep control of it as it hammers through the upper atmosphere. Thankfully, yeah, we can just press SAS and it holds its course straight and true. Truly wonderful. However, we are limited on part count, and as such we can only have 3 stabilizing fins at the bottom, so it is a little bit unstable, and as such we take a very steep ascent trajectory, which does mean that our gravity turn isn't particularly efficient, but it's alright. Anyway, have a look at that beautiful little probe there. Isn't it gorgeous? And we actually have solar panels now, so we can produce power! Yay! We don't have to just stuff a service bay full of bloody batteries. There's some bigger batteries as well, which is always nice. But yeah, we've got a bunch of scientific experiments on this, and we're going to head over to Nemesis. We're going to get ourselves an absolute metric, I don't want to say a naughty word, a lot of science, yeah, just tons of science, and we're going to use that to unlock even more secrets of the universe and get ourselves travelling towards interstellar technology. Some people have been wondering what the end goal of this series is. We are eventually going to get one of the interstellar planet packs, which add new star systems. I'm not going to get it now because it's just going to make the game run slower and load slower, and we're not going to even use it for probably like 50 episodes, but we are going to get one of them, and then as soon as we get to interstellar technology, well, warp drives and such, we're going to head over to that star system and we're going to go try and colonize it, and it's going to be freaking awesome. However, at the moment we have a little bit of problem because yeah, we don't have any ground stations near where our maneuver node was, so we couldn't control our probe. Yeah, we should probably launch some communications satellites at some point. I think I actually have a contract now to launch a communications satellite, but I'm a little too busy pushing the known boundaries of space travel. I think I'm going to get all of the awesome milestones out of the way first, travel to the moons, do all the cool stuff, and then we'll start setting up boring infrastructure like space stations. Basically what we've been doing ever since we went to the moon in reality. Anyway, as we head into high space, we have an interesting little discovery. And now we witness the fruits of me installing crowdsourced science. Of course, a lot of the messages in crowdsourced science aren't compatible with the After Kerbal world, and as such I've actually asked people on my Discord to submit science reports. So even though this one is actually from crowdsourced science itself, a lot of the messages we're going to be seeing are from subscribers. We may see a few references to Fall of Kerbin and such, definitely more so when we go to planets such as, well, Original Kerbin and Nemesis. Indeed, but measuring the temperature of space appears to be quite impossible, as there's no matter around to either be hot or cold, except the spacecraft, and the thermometer itself. This is probably going to give the R&D guys something to think about for a while, and we will certainly transmit that whilst keeping an eye on our electric charge. We can also do an atmospheric pressure scan. The instrument reads 0. It's as if it were in a vacuum. As if, almost as if. And we're not going to do mystery goo observation because, of course, we're saving that for when we actually get to Nemesis. Right! Let's head up to that rather terrifying looking body and, well, go say hello and see what interesting science reports we can find from it. So we're just going to, what's our contract as well? The exploring Nemesis is to do, okay, yeah. Land probes in 3 different biomes on Nemesis. I believe there's been a patch, there's actually only 4 different biomes on Nemesis now. It hasn't seemed to have gone through to the contract yet, though, so I don't know. I did install the patch, but I don't know. I'll get games links on that. And perform mystery goo observation experiments on Nemesis. Okay, it has to be landed, low in space and high in space. Perhaps on future missions we'll send multiple. But here I'm just going to do it when I am landed. And here we go! Space high over Nemesis's steep slopes. There is still a small amount of science to be grabbed here. Oh, not from... apparently not from... transmitting it. Okay, so maybe next time. Right, let's get down, let's get into orbit of Nemesis. I need to be careful not to actually crash into the mountains. There is a danger of that with how ridiculously high the mountains are. Let's, oh hello, don't want to do that. We want to get into an orbit first, so we can choose our landing site. Much better. Okay, perfect. Got quite a low orbit, but that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. And let's get down over Nemesis and get a bit of a closer look at it. Oh, isn't it gorgeous? Over Nemesis' steep slopes. Temperature scan data acquired. Oh, that's disappointing. I was hoping we'd have some more interesting ones. I didn't mean to do that. Atmospheric pressure scan? Read 0. It's as if it were in a, we're getting the same ones. Perhaps you don't have any for high over Nemesis. We need more science reports. Guys, get onto my Discord. Link should be in the description below. Give me some more science reports. Come on. It's all good fun. Right, there we go. We're now out of the aura of the sun. And there we go. The only way we have of actually controlling the attitude of this spacecraft is to fire the engine. So we need to get ourselves along our maneuver node before we actually, yeah, well, with firing the engine before we get to the maneuver node. Okay, so let's just time warp a little. There we are, and do our burn. Wonderful! And there we go-ish, sort of. Yes, close enough. And there we go. We're still over Nemesis' steep slopes. We need to land somewhere we actually have communications coverage, but let's orbit round a little bit first and see if we can get some... Oh, hello, Lower Midlands. We already have a temperature scan from here, apparently. Where is Nemesis? Where am I? Ah, where's my orientation? Okay, there's... Oh, I think it's here. It's just so dark I can't see it. I can't see anything. Bloody hell, it's dark. It is a dark little moon. Over Calm Flat. Okay, it looks like these aren't actually specific to biomes, so that's why we're not getting more science for them. That's quite alright. Ah, look at this. Truly beautiful. Lower Midlands. Yeah, it looks like the biomes haven't been patched. Maybe I didn't install it. I thought I did. Okay, well, I'll have a look after this mission. Look at this. Look at this terrain. Whoa, this stuff is crazy. And we've lost control of the probe right now because we're out of communications range. But look at that. Holy bejesus. That's freaking awesome. This is such a cool world. I'm freaking out right now. This is freaking epic. Okay, Right, what are we doing? Where are we going to land? That's the main question. Our orbit isn't great because it's not particularly in line of sight of Solitude, and of course we need line of sight to have communications. But it looks like we have it now. I think we should land in this area here. That looks like as good a place to land as any. So we'll just flip the spacecraft around. We just got into orbit with our transfer stage, which was intentional. This stage is the bit that's meant for landing. Not much fuel, but it's only a tiny little spacecraft, so it should be fine. Alrighty-roo. We're not going to have any solar power when we get... Oh, no, we will have solar power. Let me think. No, we will have solar power. We're just on the edge between the where the sun is and on our communication link with Solitude. This is what makes probes a little bit more interesting, I think. If you just have it so you lose some control when you go out of communication range, it's a little bit boring. I think it's far more exciting if we have it so we actually lose control of the probe entirely. I think we should be out of fuel in this stage now. Let's just fire it off, and there we go. Right. This is going to smash into the surface. It's a shame we can't actually use it as some kind of impactor probe, but oh well, that's fine. I believe there are actually strategies for that later. Oh, hello. That was quite an aggressive decoupling. Gave it a smack on the arse. Hope that didn't kick it back up into orbit. That'd be a bit awkward if it did, wouldn't it? And there we go! Activate our LV909 Terrier engine. This is actually oversized, but we don't have any of the tiny engines yet, so yeah. We have to make do with this Terrier. But that's fine, it's quite an efficient engine, even if it is quite heavy. Okie dokie. So we want to be landing about here-ish, on this sort of open-y area. Let's fire the engine up a bit. And there we go. We have our descent trajectory. Keep an eye on our fuel because it's a little bit precarious. Look at this surface. This is such a cool world. It's very, very rocky. Rockier indeed than I thought it was from the map view. Jeez, look at it. It's it's been savaged by tidal forces. Our landing site isn't looking particularly... It's not looking as flat as it did from the map view. This could be a problem. Potentially. Let's just roll with it, you know. We'll land in one of these little craters or something. As long as we get sunlight and we're still in view of Solitude, it'll be fine. Let's start cancelling out our lateral velocity. This thing's very, very light, so it's actually alright. I think we're moving to the side slightly because we've got a slightly offset mass due to this giant high-gain antenna, but we couldn't really do without bringing an antenna, so we're just going to have to sort of fight it. There we go. Yep, we're still in view of the sun. This is not an ideal landing site at all, to be honest, but hey, I don't think there are many ideal landing sites on this entire moon, so what you gonna do, huh? What you gonna do? Right, I believe it's 0.2 Gs on this moon, so we should be alright. We're in view of Solitude. Yep, we've got a view of Solitude, and we've got a view of the sun, so we're alright. It's a half-decent landing site, you know? It's perfectly fine. We're over their steep slopes right now, so hopefully we don't have to land on these steep slopes again anytime soon. We might actually have enough fuel to make a little hop into another biome. That would certainly be useful. It'd save us sending another probe, actually. Oh, hello. Fired a bit too much. I do that all the time. Let's just, come on. Float down to that. Gently float down to the surface. We're travelling sideways a little too fast, at about 1 meter per second. I want to get rid of that. And touchdown! Smooth as a baby's bum. Beautiful. Look at that! What perfect positioning. What a lovely shot as well. A lovely shot of Solitude. Oh, I believe that we're tidally locked to Solitude as well, so we shouldn't have any problems actually communicating in future. Look at that. Gorgeous. Gorgeous view of the red planet below. Righty-roo. Let's get doing some scans. It's too dark to see the indication here. Ah, yes. We're actually getting into the science report submitted by the Discord now. It is truly, truly amusing. You open the panel covering the barometer. It gives off wild readings before exploding. Luckily, as it was not exposed to air, the warranty is still good. Not sure how we removed the panel, considering this is a probe, not a manned mission. But hey, I'm not going to question it too much, you know. Mystery Goo observation. The goo becomes really nervous and tries to escape from the container. Ah, wonderful. This is a great idea. This is a really good idea, getting people in Discord to submit science messages. I know these are all actually messages from the Discord, so please do get over and submit some, because I need as many as I can get, because we still have quite a few generic reports. And there we go. That's that. We've... Yep, from the biome. Nemesis is steep slopes. Wonderful. Oh, we have to recover those observations. That's annoying. This is not going back to Kerbin, Solitude, so yeah, we can't actually complete that contract. However, we have landed a probe in one biome, and we have to land in 3 biomes, so why don't we actually see if we can do a little hop? We've got enough fuel. I think we can do it. But where's the nearest different biome? I think we want to head over this way. That looks like a flatty area. Yeah. Let's zoom out a bit, because the map view is not particularly helpful. Okay, so we're on the steep slopes right now. I think over there is a much flatter part of ground. I think we can make that. Let's do it. There we go. Just a short little burst from the engine. And let's see where we're going. Not far enough. And there we go! Short little hop. Yeah, because we actually got quite a decent amount of fuel on this. And that's quite a powerful engine, because we don't actually have any weaker engines yet. So, yeah, let's do that. Make use of the probe that we have, you know? Yeah, this should be a different biome. We're going over steep slopes still. But, lower Midlands! Perfect. We are on a different biome. Truly wonderful. Right. A lot of shadows are being cast by the mountains, though. We want to make sure we land somewhere where there is light. We don't want to land in the shadow of one of these big hills, because then we won't be able to get any solar power, and that would not be ideal. So we'll cancel out some of our vertical velocity first. As I said, we want to make sure we land somewhere in the light. So we're going to land over here somewhere-ish. There we go. Time warp a bit. Are we going to land somewhere the correct area? Yeah, no, we'll be fine. Okie dokie. Let's. We're not going to be able to do our mystery goo experiment, but we can do the other ones, and we can take another step towards completing our strategy of landing a probe in 3 different areas. Of course, this is far more advanced than any of the Apollo probes would ever. Well, not Apollo probes, but the probe sent to the moon by the Soviets and the US. They would not have been hopping around the surface. They would have just landed. I believe the first probe actually landed on the moon was a Russian probe. And it actually landed on airbags, not landing legs, because it landed a little bit hard. So they used airbags to cushion its landing. Just a random little factoid for you. Righty-roo. We have sunlight, and we have communications. So this is actually an alright little landing spot. Okay, just very gently, bring her down to the surface. And touchdown. And there we go! Oh, we're on calm flats, actually. We're not on the lowlands. That's interesting. Right, temperature scan. It's too dark to see the indication here. Transmit value. There we go. Atmospheric... Yep. Close it. There we go. Atmospheric pressure scan. No trace of an atmosphere up here. Hey, that rhymes! And there we go. Send that data. And wonderful! We've got even more science. And we didn't even use all our electric charge. So, now we have some science under our belt. We can actually get propulsion systems, which gives us some much smaller engines, and some much smaller fuel tanks, of course, which are much better suited to exploring the surface of Nemesis with some tiny probes. So we're going to grab that and purchase all of the parts. Wonderful! Back to space. Now, with Progress 3, we don't actually end up using those parts that we unlocked, mainly because we haven't upgraded our VAB yet, which is limiting our part count to 30, because we're still sort of broke. I mean, we're not bankrupt levels of broke, but these moon missions aren't really generating a huge amount of money. They're giving us a lot of science for sure, but we haven't actually got a huge amount of contracts for exploring our moons other than manned contracts. And of course, we're still developing the necessary technology to actually be able to do that. So we have another slightly wobbly launch, and this one actually has a really shallow trajectory into orbit. So yeah, I do actually nail it on the 3rd mission to Nemesis, so it's quite alright. Now, Nemesis has actually had a few biome changes and such, which do confuse me a little later on. You see, GamesLinks decided to nerf Nemesis because it had 15 biomes, and when you've got 2 moons, that's just overpowered levels of science right on your doorstep. So he knocked it down to 4, but we already had the contract by the time he did that, so the contract kind of glitched out. So I ended up having to actually go and edit the save file to change the contract for landing on the different zones of Nemesis. That's why we only got one sort of landing biome from that previous mission, Progress 2. Even though we landed in the steep slopes wasn't counted as a biome when we landed, so we only got calm flats. But hey, you know, you live and learn, right? It's fine. We still got a bunch of science from a biome that technically shouldn't have existed. Oh wait, no, the calm flats and the steep slopes are in the... No, never mind. We didn't get any extra science. We just the contract's weird. Okay, just ignore me. Anyway, moving on. So this one, we don't actually have the problem that we had on the last one. We don't have to wait until Nemesis gets into a better position. We can just warp straight round, and we are lucky enough to have a ground station beneath our maneuver node, so we can communicate with the probe and tell it to do its burn. The last one we had to wait, I believe, a couple of days before Nemesis moved into the right location, so that we could actually perform a burn over something that would allow us to actually communicate with the goddamn satellite. Problems that in reality they didn't really have with the early Pioneer probes and such, because, you know, they just had ground stations in the right places, or just waited until the right time to launch. I'm, well, far too impatient to do that, so yeah. Anyway, we're heading back up high over Solitude. Ah, look at that beautiful acne covered world. GamesLinks has actually brought it to my attention that the nighttime side of Solitude is covered in ice because it's absolutely frozen, and actually there isn't any greenery on the face sort of directly facing Archangel. It's only really near the Terminators, and I know that sounds cool, that's just the separator between daytime and nighttime, and also near the poles that you actually have green stuff growing. So yeah, the environment of Solitude isn't actually particularly hospitable, but hey, you know, you can breathe the atmosphere, so who are we to complain? And have a look at that! Ooh, it's a pretty awesome looking mountain range that we fly perilously close to, because our periapsis ends up being a little bit low for comfort, but look at that, that's a pretty cool shot. We have to actually find ourselves a landing site in which we have solar power from the sun, but also we can still communicate with Solitude. Again, we need to launch some communication satellites. We have a very narrow brush with those mountains, but hey, you know, it looks pretty freaking awesome, so who am I to complain once again? And yeah, we make sure we can still see Solitude just before it goes over the horizon. I'm like, oh, no, we can't go any further. Go back, go back, go back. Thankfully, we just flew over a highlands biome, and we hadn't landed there yet. And we still managed to maintain control of the spacecraft. The thing about having a window in which we can do a maneuver over one of the ground stations is that Nemesis always seems to be in a position where we can't actually... Well, it's a very slim margin on the surface where we can actually have communications with Solitude and be in sunlight to get power. So, yeah, it's a bit of a delicate balancing act. But hey, you know, it provides a bit of a fun challenge. We have a bit of a funky landing. We actually run out of fuel just before touchdown. So it's a little bit aggressive, but we touch down just fine and get our science. So we've landed a probe in the calm flats and in the highlands, so now we just need to land one more in the steep slopes or the lower midlands. However, I think that Progress 2 still has some fuel left, so we're going to go visit Progress 2 and see if we can get it into the steep slopes. So here it is, Progress 2 still has a bit of fuel left, and it's still functioning, so we might as well use it to get to some steep slopes. Now we're in a bit of a different position, had to warp around a little bit, wait a bit of time. So this has actually been on Nemesis for 4 days at this point. There we go, there's a little freeze there. But we get this wonderful view of Solitude moving in front of the ever-expanding Kerbol. So what we're going to do, I believe, is head north. That's where they were. Yeah, that's where the... that's definitely where the steep slopes were. So we're going to head there, land, and then hopefully we'll have finally completed the Nemesis probe's contract. And then we can go for the Nemesis program. We choose to go to Nemesis, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. Anyway, let's get this thing off the ground, do a little quick save because this could go terribly wrong. And we need to keep a very close eye on our fuel because we don't have much of it. Right, quick little boost into the air. And there we go. As soon as we've used anywhere near half of our fuel, we need to be very careful because, well, we're going to need the fuel to actually come back down again. Come on, head towards those steep slopes. Fuel's not looking great. We ran out of probe on the... Ran out of fuel on the last probe. Freudian slip. And thankfully we were close enough to the ground that it didn't really matter, but on this one I think it will. I'm not liking the fuel situation. Let's just give another little boost. Come on, get over those steep slopes. I know you want to. There we go, another little burst. Come on. We're running out of calm flats here. Okay, I think that's the last boost we're going to be able to do before we have to turn around. Still over the calm flats. Damn it! Didn't have enough fuel left. Did not have enough fuel. Okay. We're going to have to do a bit of a suicide burn here. No matter. Oh, we got so little fuel! The last second. Last second. Ah! Oh, retract the antenna, retract the antenna! Retract it now! Oh, bugger. Oh, our landing legs have been stuck in the ground. Oh, retract him. Ah, damn it, we trashed Progress 2. What could have potentially one day been like some kind of historical heritage site or something. We've just, no, we've just trashed it. I think we're about to trash it even more. No, now we're tumbling down the hill. That's not good. Yeah, no, that didn't work so well, did it? We weren't quite close enough. We didn't have enough fuel left. Looks like we are going to have to send another probe. Oh! Okay, we trashed it even more. There I was thinking that we couldn't damage Progress 2 even more, but no, we definitely could. You gonna stop tumbling down the hill anytime soon? Activate the SAS. See if we can get it to stop. Come on. Stop, 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 stop. Right. Progress 4 it is. I mean, to be fair, we didn't get materials bay data from the steep slopes, so it's not a massive loss. Yeah. Oh well. Off we go. So Progress 4 is pretty much identical to the other missions, except this time we don't actually screw up our ascent trajectory, but this is the one I'm not going to show you because you've seen the exact same launch of pretty much exactly the same craft twice before. So we're just going to skip through the launch and our Nemesis injection. Yeah, I guess it would be Nemesis injection. There we go, just doing our burn, and we're heading out towards the terrifying moon. And sure enough, we arrive just fine, no hiccups. We turn around, we do our circularization burn, and everything is wonderful. I still haven't got tired of visiting Nemesis though. I mean, it is still pretty freaking awesome with the massive mountains and stuff, although the terrain is still very, very perilous to land on. I seem to always land on some kind of slope. And yeah, I didn't really pick the best antenna. I mean, it is our best antenna, but it's also extremely delicate and it sticks out the side of the spacecraft. So yeah, whenever we get down near the surface, I'm always paranoid that we're going to smash the antenna like we did on our Progress 1. But no, it's quite alright. We managed to find ourselves a relatively flat piece of ground to land on, and sure enough, we head down, and just fine, we managed to land ourselves in the biome and get ourselves our final bounty and complete the contract. So we've completed Nemesis probes. However, I don't believe we're ready for the Nemesis program just yet. With our science rewards, we do not have half the technology required to be putting a Kerbal on that fearsome world. So what we are going to do is a pretty similar thing to what we did with Nemesis. We're going to send a probe to Guardian, our other moon, and then once we've completed the Guardian contract, well, the Guardian probes contract, and got ourselves a bunch more funds, a bunch more science. I believe Guardian has 5 biomes instead of Nemesis' 4. We'll have enough technology to think about doing either the Nemesis program or the Guardian program. So let's build some more probes, and to Guardian we go.